Should be should be live there. Okay, what's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube Cider Report, back for a video. It has been a little while. It's been a hot old minute. Um, so a lot of things has kind of happened that we're going to be talking about. First and foremost, just to kind of like not necessarily just kind of get it out of the way, but something that kind of pretty much obviously needs to be said is George Floyd's trial, or well, not his trial, but Derek Chauvin's trial, was done and guilty on all three counts. So he was found guilty of second degree unintentional murder, third degree murder, and then second degree manslaughter. Um, so yeah, David Pacman put out a poll thing. I thought it was either on YouTube or it was on Twitter, where he kind of asked people to say or to guess, to give their opinion. If they thought that it was going to go that way, if they thought that that like he was going to get maybe like one of the counts but not all of them, or if he was going to walk. And honestly, at a certain point, I kind of thought all three. Not because he wasn't obviously guilty, he clearly was. But I did a little bit of research kind of coming up to the Derek Chauvin trial, and the whole like everything. And since 2005, there has only been 16 police officers who have been convicted of murder. Which is like a ridiculously small amount. I mean, like you can arguably, just from 2021 alone, find 16 police officers who are guilty of murder, of like an unarmed person, or something like this. So the fact that literally since 2005 that there's only been 16 people it's fucking crazy. And it kind of makes it seem like it's ludicrously unlikely that something like this is going to happen. So that's why I genuinely thought kind of like all three at one point, as I had said. Obviously happy that he did, that he was sentenced and that he was found guilty. I'm sorry, hasn't actually been sentenced yet, but he has been found guilty. Immensely happy that happened. There's undoubtedly the correct conclusion and the correct outcome. There's been a lot of people that have responded to it. I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm not going to go over even kind of some of them, I don't think. Just because, we can kind of like expect that this is kind of what's, happened and what's been said and stuff. Like they were saying it the entire way through the trial. They've been saying it for the last year. Oh, he had fentanyl in his system, and, that like it was this, not the other thing. And even after the medical experts going up and saying precisely and in detail why he did not die of fentanyl, people are still saying it. People have said it since, on the day that he was convicted, in the day since he's been convicted. I'm not going to throw up any of those responses. The one response that I am going to show is Nancy Pelosi's. Quite a lot of you have probably kind of gotten this by now or have heard this, but this is what she said.
It happened. And thank God the jury validated what we saw. So again, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice.
You see, maybe it's just me, right? No, maybe it's just me. But I kind of found it particularly odd, the fact that she started that off by saying that we all saw it and we all know what we saw. We all saw this happening. And then said that George Floyd sacrificed himself. George Floyd did not fucking sacrifice himself. He did not sacrifice himself. He was murdered. When you sacrifice yourself, you know that you're going to die. Like, you know that if you know if you take a step forward, just for example, that you're going to die, right? If you know that if you take one more step, you're going to die in any sort of circumstance, doesn't actually matter what it is. But if you take another step, that you're going to die, right? But you kind of think, okay, well, if I die, then everybody behind me, then they get to go out free. So I'm going to be, I'm going to be the, hero. I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to step forward. I'm going to die, but so that everybody, that would be sacrificing yourself. Being pinned to the floor for 10 fucking minutes while somebody kneels on your neck, that's not sacrificing yourself. That's you being killed. That's what that is. So, just in case anybody, like, because look, I do kind of get this a lot where people kind of say, oh, like I'm like a partisan in some way or something like that. And look, I am undoubtedly on the left, but yes, it was. Yes, thank you, Amanda. Yes, it would have been better coming from a person of color. But even still, yeah, okay. So it would have sounded better if they had still used the word sacrifice coming from a person of color. Yeah, that it definitely would have seemed better, but it still would have been wrong because he still didn't sacrifice himself. But I get what you're saying. It would have sounded an awful lot better if it had been coming from someone. Yeah. Um. So yeah. So like, it's just, oh my god. I'm not gonna go over. I'm not gonna delve too much into that or any of the responses to the sentencing. I keep saying sentencing. I keep getting ahead of myself. I'm very excited. Of the conviction, but just to say that, like, obviously, there's this argument, there's this kind of dialogue, a conversation back and forth of people saying, was this actually justice served, or was this just like a micro step in the correct uh, direction? And I do kind of think it's a little bit of both. In this specific circumstance, yes, it was justice served, right? But it is still only a micro step in the right direction because this shit is still happening all of the fucking time. It is happening not so much every day, quite possibly, but I'm not going to say every day. Um, it's like this happens every, like, all the time, every single year in the United States. There are people just like George Floyd, people of color, who are killed unjustly, incorrectly, um, undeservingly by the police, and it it happens all the time. And justice was served in this one instance, but it's not justice on like a macro scale. Uh, these sorts of cases are going to happen again. They're going to happen all the time. They've happened since. We saw Adam Toledo, a 13-year-old kid who was shot and killed. We've all by now seen the infamous quote that Sean Hannity had to say about it, which was that he was a 13-year-old man, which is a statement that you have to think about before you say it, because nobody says a 13-year-old man. People, like, naturally, if you were just to say that statement, if you were just to say that, you would say a 13-year-old kid. Nobody says a 13-year-old man. Like, you have to stop yourself and be like, no, like, this is what I want to say. I want to say a 13-year-old man, because you like, that has to be something that has to be in some way rehearsed, because it just doesn't come naturally. Nobody fucking says that. By the way, Sean Hannity described Kyle Rittenhouse as a 17-year-old kid, but for some reason Adam Toledo is a 13-year-old man. It's very very confusing. Much of a double standard. Anyhow, um, yeah, look, I think that, like, there's still a good bit to be done. There's still a lot that does have to be done. But it's just kind of, this, it is, even if it is a micro step, it's still in the right direction and it's not in the wrong direction. And it was genuinely a little bit touch and go there because, this is the States that we're talking about, Manda. I know that you're probably still in chat. I know that you're probably still watching this. You'll know this yourself. The United States is not dependable when it comes to issues like this. So I can honestly tell you, as someone who is Irish, I was watching it with genuine bated breath. I was watching Vosh's live stream, but I went back and I watched like a few other lefties online that were doing a live reaction to it as it was happening, and everybody was kind of doing the exact same thing, like genuine bated breath. Um, so yeah, it was touch and go, but the right decision was arrived at. So next thing that I want to talk about, there was a new bill that was introduced in Florida, which essentially, in an effort to protect women's sports, because as we know, conservatives only care about women's sports if they are also simultaneously attacking trans people, because they don't give a fuck about women's sports on any other day of the year. Only if they get the opportunity to be like, oh, do I get to shit on trans people whilst I'm also talking about this? Fuck yes, I'm going to talk about that. That's the only point. That's the only point in time where they'll talk about it. Like, the only point in time where they'll defend women's sports is if they also get to shit on trans people. So the bill stated that if a trans person who is in like middle school or in high school over in the States or over in Florida, that if they say that, they're female or if they're male, that originally, right, the first time it can be just accepted and you will be allowed to play on the girls' basketball team, just for example, right? The girls' sports team, right? With the sports ball, because I don't give a fuck which one it is. It's just sports, right? Fuck it. That they will be allowed to join that team, but if it comes up to any sort of an actual game versus another school, that and this is where it gets really, really weird. Teenagers who are suspected to not be of the gender, to not have their birth sex match their gender, right? So if you were born, so essentially what it means is, if you were born biologically male, unless you like, it doesn't matter whether or not no, I'm kind of fucking this up. Why am I fucking this up? I've talked about trans issues so many fucking times. Yeah, so if you were born biologically male and yet you identify as female and want to play on the female sports team with sports ball, if you are suspected to have been born male, under this new bill, you can be subjected to, and this is their language, not mine, essentially a genital inspection. And this is on people who are like young. I'm sorry, I've been slightly distracted. Manda, where the fuck have you been? Genuinely, I love you, and you know that I love you, and we're friends, and we've been talking for a very long time. Where have you been? I got the PS5 on release day back in November. This is almost fucking May. But anyhow, just sorry, just very, very slightly distracted by that. Anyhow, um, where was I? Yes, that's where I was. That they can be subjected to a genital inspection. And this is being done in middle schools and in high schools in Florida. So essentially, this law is the closest thing that any state in the United States has come to insofar as legalized pedophilia. Because you're literally examining a minor's genitals. Like, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're examining their genitals to see if they're if that matches with their gender expression. Um, but here's the thing. Unfortunately, even if it might not have happened in your school, or if, or, even if it didn't happen like to you or to somebody that you like very, in your immediate circle knew, so as in like somebody that like you were actually friends with, everybody unfortunately knows of a story, right, that's like happened to a friend of a friend, or that's happened in the school that they're in, or something of that nature, where a PE teacher gets a little bit too pervy and tries to like grope a student, and then ends up getting fired for it. Right now, obviously that is the right decision. If that happens, fire the cunt. Right? That Nobody's saying that that shouldn't happen, but if this is actually signed into law, I can guarantee you, I will bet my house that in less than a year, you're going to have some stories, at least one story come out of a school in Florida to which states that the PE teacher, right, or that the gym teacher, whatever the fuck it's called over there, said to a student, the whole medical exam thing, yeah, it's there and it's scheduled for 2 weeks, but look, I get that you want to play on the team. I want you to play on the team. Like, we're like all about inclusivity here. So, maybe if I just kind of do the exam, and then you can continue playing, and then, it'll be a formality then later, and it'll all be under the rod and all that. Guarantee you that's going to happen. Guarantee you that's going to happen. Like, PE teachers, like gym teachers are already fucking perverts. Like, quite a lot of them are already really fucking pervy. Like, unnervingly so. They're ridiculously fucking pervy. So, like, it's not, it may be somebody might be saying, like, that it's a little bit of like a leap, or it's a bit of a reach or stuff, like, possibly, but I don't think so. I don't think it's that much of a leap to allow people who are already notoriously like pervy and overly pervy, um to allow them essentially to inspect minors. Like, it's just how this passed, like, I don't know, the state meeting, I don't fucking know what it's called, like Florida's local government, right? It passed in that area. I meeting. Um, it passed there. It hasn't actually been signed into law yet, but like the fact that it passed there, and like this wasn't brought up as like a thing, as like a, just hang on here now, people. Like the gym teachers, they're already pretty pervy. Is this not like, have we? I get what we're all trying to do here, because we're all conservatives and we all suddenly love women's sports and we don't want to shit on it anymore. And I love, and I know that we all love shitting on trans people, but have we thought about this from all angles? Like, how is it not one person thought about it, like, or had that thought, or said that or didn't say it actually. But how is it that that didn't happen? How is it that somebody, right? Somebody, let's call her Sharon, didn't say, "Well, hang on, will somebody think of the children?" You know, like why did that not happen? Like I just don't fucking understand. Like said, like that just doesn't make like that just makes less than zero sense to me. Like less than zero sense. Um, yeah, I don't. I just wait and I see if I can try and like um. Jesus Christ, Google is fucking autofilling it. Either that or just they're just listening to me like right now. So wait, no. Where's the thingy? There we go. So here it is. So Florida lawmakers passed a bill that legalizes teen genital inspections. The Florida House of Representatives passed a bill. Back up. There you go. Passed a bill that bans trans students, athletes from playing in the sport of their gender and legalizes genital inspections when someone has determined an athlete's gender is in question. So there's the thing, right? It like someone's gender is in question, but there's the but like that's the key part because let's say somebody is, you know, a guy and, you know, born male identifies as they are a cis straight white male, right? The worst combination of all to the SJWs, right? The worst combination, the worst trifecta. Like, but then, you know, a pervy gym teacher comes along who is, you know, has an attraction towards this young man. And he says, well, hang on there now. He says, you know, I get that he identifies as male, but you know, he's quite small and he's quite slim in his build. So you know, I mean, like maybe he's a guy. You know, like it's not it's not even like that. I'm jumping two or three, like or like five steps ahead. Like I'm maybe only jumping two. Like it's not a very it's not a far cry from, you know, this to this, right? That's not big. That's not a leap. Um, it's just I'll just kind of leave this up whilst I'm kind of talking a little bit more about it. Um, the bill decrees the participation in team sports at nearly all educational facilities in the state be designated on the basis of students' biological sex rather than their gender. Uh, teams would be teams would be limited to men's, women's, and co-ed or mixed. Wait, co-ed or mixed? What's the or mixed? Because co-ed is like, you know, boys and girls playing on the same team. But like, I presume so. At least that's my understanding of what co-ed is. But what the fuck is mixed? If someone in chat could kind of tell me what that is, because I am genuinely drawing blanks there, because I have no idea like what the fuck that is. Um, So general inspections for trans women and girls are specifically approved um, in the bill to resolve some disputes regarding the biological sex of the student athlete. The bill provides three means of determining the eligibility of a challenged student athlete. The first is a physical inspection of the reproductive anatomy. Jesus Christ. So, okay. The second a test of the genetic makeup. What the how the fuck do you? Okay, I know how you test that, but okay. The third, providing the proof of normal. Um. Oh God, this is where my fucking dyslexia is starting to kick me in the shit. I don't know. Um. I don't know what that. It's a big and legal word. That's what it is. Produced of testosterone levels. It's just oh god. I am. Hmm. Yeah, Manda, thank you. That's kind of what I kind of thought, right? Is that mixed and co-ed would be the same thing. But like, why would you need to put in both though? Because those words can be interchangeable if it was just one of them there. Like if it was, like, so it could be men's women's co-ed, it could be men's women's mixed. Like those are the three, but it's really weird that it has the four there, because I just thought that it was just the same thing. I don't even. Well, look, at Manda used to work for NASA, and if she doesn't know that word, then I'm pretty okay. So I rarely feel like I'm the smartest person in the room, but at least I don't feel like the dumbest one in this room. So, as in this kind of like earthly space, obviously I am the only person in this actual room, but there we go. Um, so, one other thing that we were going to be talking about is whether or not one of the incredibly reliable and never false, very 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 fair and balanced, never hatred of fake news, Tucker Carlson of Fox News. We're going to be talking about him and whether or not he is a Nazi. So yeah, it's like, okay. So this is it's become a little bit of like a thing, of a bone of contention, and this sort of like idea that like people are kind of using this word or using this phrase too much, right? um and I don't really think that this is the case here, because sorry, I really should have bookmarked this before I actually started, but show. You see, I'm finding it from other people, but not like the actual thing. Well, maybe that's it. That could be it. I think that might be it. So yeah, so this idea that people are called, Nazi or Nazi adjacent, it is kind of true, or there's an argument to be made that that like that label is kind of tossed around too easily. And I understand what people are saying and where they're coming from when they say that. But I genuinely think that Tucker may be an actual Nazi. Um, and there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of like clips that I could show you guys. Unfortunately, like there actually is, but let's just take a gander. Let's just take a gander.
I'm laughing because this is one of about 10 stories that I know you've covered, where the government shows preference to people who have shown absolute contempt for our customs, our laws, our system itself, and they're being treated better than American citizens. Now, I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true. If this was happening in your house, if you were in 6th grade, for example, and without telling you, your parents adopted a bunch of new siblings and gave them brand new bikes and let them stay up later and help them with their homework and gave them twice the allowance that they gave you, you would say to your siblings, I think we're being replaced by kids that our parents love more. And it would be kind of hard to argue against you because look at the evidence. So this matters on a bunch of different levels, but on the most basic level, it's a voting rights question. In a democracy, one person equals one vote. If you change the population, you dilute the political power of the people who live there. So every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised as a current voter. So I don't understand why we don't understand this. I mean, everyone wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question. I have less political power because they're importing a brand new electorate. Why should I sit back and take that? The power that I have as an American guaranteed at birth is one man, one vote, and they're diluting it. No, they're not allowed to do that. Why are we putting up with this?
So, somebody's mommy didn't laugh. Oh God, yeah, it kind of came off like, you know what I mean. I don't know like what they were talking about before that clip started, but it kind like a lot of that felt like projection a little bit. But yeah. So, I like the way that Tucker kind of started out by kind of saying, by kind of like half saying. He didn't start out by saying it was about halfway through the clip where he was like, and people want to say like, oh, it's white replacement theory. No. But then goes on to decry white replacement theory. But like that is exactly what he's doing. He is peddling the idea of white replacement theory, and white replacement theory is an actual, and it's not even like adjacent. It's not even that you put neo in front of it. That is literally what the actual Nazis were peddling. And look, I come from, like people say because I'm a socialist, people say that I'm coming from, that I have like radical positions. And you know what? Sometimes I do. And one of those radical positions is I want me and my family and my loved ones and my followers here on YouTube and on Twitter to be as far away from Nazis or from Nazism as possible. And I know, like, call me radical. That's one of the positions that I hold. Like there is literally a group of people that I could not disagree with more. And it's just exactly, Aaron. Exactly. Brilliant comment. Fascism is fascism. It doesn't matter who is spewing it. Yeah, exactly. It's just, oh God, I don't. There was another clip that I'm going to try and find it because it kind of spelt it out a little bit more, or it was like more like egregious, I guess. It was an awful lot more obvious, I think, than what that one was, because like you maybe had to do like a little bit of like digging around, or you had to kind of like say, oh well, no, like this is what he was actually saying, or it was just a lot more obvious. So I'm going to try and find that clip for you guys. But April 9th, April 14th. No, it's only 10 seconds long. Pressing is a defense replacement theory. That's no, I can't find it. Right, well, that's fucked up, and that's very, very upsetting. And I know that we're all upset. But there was a different clip. So that was on Tucker Carlson's like daytime show on Fox News. This happened. It wasn't the same day. I'm pretty sure it was like the day after or something like that, where it was on the nightly show. So it was on like Tucker Carlson Tonight. If somebody in chat, actually, if either Manda or Aaron, so there's a few people watching this, but you guys only. If somebody could link me that, if you could kind of find the clip that I'm talking about, if you could link that to me, that'd be absolutely fantastic, because it does genuinely, like, it spells it out in like glaring big fucking neon lights. That like it is like almost undeniable. But this idea of white, it is an actual, like, that's a Nazi ideology. That's what they believed. But this whole idea of, he used the word dilute, that people are diluting his vote. If you bring it, that if you bring in other people from different countries, that you're diluting that the vote of the people who are there. But you see, the problem with that is, every single time a person in the United States who is, a citizen, or who has gotten citizenship, who was born there, etc., every single time one of those people turns 18, Tucker Carlson's vote is diluted, because there is now a larger eligible voting pool. There is now more people who are allowed to vote, so his vote gets diluted a little bit. But that's what happens, like, all the time. And it's not just with, like, so obviously he's kind of saying this from the standpoint of, that, like, the Democrats or the left is doing this, as if the Democrats and the left are actually the same thing. Of course they're not. But this idea that, like, that, like, his possibly how do I why get I can't highlight it. I can just look at it, but I can't copy and paste it. Oh my god, that's so shit. I can do it on my phone, which is less than fucking useless. Shit. Give me a second and I'll go on to the fucking video on YouTube. So I'll be able to find it then. There we go. Load, stop. Thank you. And paste and yoink and go. Possibly, Manda, I'm still looking up the actual thing. Oh, possibly. This is possibly it. What is this? GDPR. Yes, fuck off. Go away. I don't care about you. Nobody cares about you. What? Go away. Let's see.
If you use the term replacement, the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. That's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it. That's true. Democrats know if they keep up the flood of illegals into the country, they can eventually turn it into a flood of voters for them. When you offer someone citizenship, free health care, free education, housing vouchers, and free food, all things they don't have in their own country, their political success does not depend on good policies, but on demographic replacement, and they'll do anything to make sure it happens. So every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised.
I'm actually not 100% sure that was. It was a couple of minutes long. It was a few minute long video, and he was doing a rant on his own show. It was just the one, you know what I mean? It was just the one. It was on his nightly show. It was, I don't know, 5-6 minute long clip. But anyway, look, we don't really need it, because it's like kind of, it's pretty obvious to most people that he is. This whole thing, and I mean, like, look, you can go back over his record. You can look at the fact that he called immigrants into the country, that, like, he had said that they were making the country poorer and dirtier. Talking about immigrants coming from, these countries, and it's just like, any one of these things in isolation would have been, very bad. But the fact that like he is now literally peddled white replacement theory, like everything else that he has said before now, it's like you've increased the amount of lumens that's shining on that particular piece of evidence, right? Um, so it's oh god. Yes, of course, Manda. Sorry, by the way, you do get points for trying. Of course, of course. Um, it's I don't know. It's and I mean, if you go back over as well, and if you look at the fact that there was a story a couple of months ago where one of Tucker Carlson's head writers was fired for being overtly racist. And again, this was his head writer. This was the person who was writing his monologues, who was writing his pieces that he would then go out onto Fox News and he would say to millions of people every single night. And look, that wouldn't even necessarily be like that much of a problem. You know, it'd be pretty bad, but it wouldn't be like, you know, the worst thing in the world. Apart from when you kind of think about, or if you have the thought in your head of just, okay, so this has happened, and you know we have now an ex-writer who's overtly racist. If you think to yourself, how much of the overtly racist writers, how much of his points or opinions slipped into the actual mainstream and slipped into Tucker Carlson's monologues and into his, you know, rants and his raves and his all. If you think about it that way, how much genuine racism made it out? And look, at these are only in the cases where it's completely and just objectively obvious that like this is completely and utterly racist. The comments that he said about, you know, like being poorer and dirtier, that is like objectively obvious. But how much subliminal shit, how much, you know, how much stuff that's not quite so obvious made it through? I don't think that that's an unreasonable question. I don't think that that's an unreasonable point to think about. You know, I look, I don't know. I'm not surprised. You know, if you'd have told me a couple of months ago that it was going to come out that Tucker Carlson was going to, you know, spout or to, you know, go on like an actual Nazi tirade or to, you know, spout one of their talking points. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's, you know, the cynical part of me. But that would have been the least interesting information that I'd heard that week. Yeah, or like the most expected information. I just would not have been surprised at all. I just genuinely wouldn't have. Call me a cynic, call me negative, call me, you know, glass half empty, whatever. But that literally would have been the least, like, or like the most expected information that I would have heard. So anyway, yeah, look, I know this was like a much kind of shorter stream. I've been going literally for less than an hour, but I mean, those were the only things that I had to kind of talk about. Yeah, that's kind of. I just don't really kind of have much else to kind of bring up on any of those points. Thank fuck Derek Chauvin was convicted, hasn't been sentenced yet. We'll kind of have to wait and see how much time he actually gets. The whole Florida bill, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, if that actually goes through, I mean, like, oh boy, that's completely different, you know, totally different can of worms. Michael, you've joined at the worst time you could possibly join. I'm just about to sign off. Yeah, and then Tucker Carlson, I mean, yeah, like, yeah, he's probably a Nazi. Yeah, probably. Like probably. As if the evidence wasn't already there. But I mean, had you have asked me a couple of months ago, I'd have said like, yeah, probably. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I will be back next Saturday. Next Saturday night, same time. Very sorry, Michael. We'll have to get in touch. We'll need to talk again soon. We haven't spoken in a little while. What was I going to say to you? Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yes, hasn't been officially announced yet, and I took last week off. I can't exactly remember why. I just didn't. I just didn't stream last week. So this is kind of very new information. Blah, 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 blah. Next Wednesday, the 28th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, myself and the ever wonderful Leophilius will be debating socialism versus capitalism on Modern Day Debate. So that is this Wednesday. Yes, this Wednesday coming, 28th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. That's what time that's going to be at. Hopefully, we will see you guys there. It's that will be a very, very, very fun one. So yeah, until next Wednesday, we'll talk to you guys then.